Okay, bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, amma ba'd. We stopped where, Ahmed, ya akhi? No. Oh, you got the matan? Okay, bismillah, alhamdulillah. I don't know, I can't find the translation that I did for it. You got it? Anyway, so we stopped on. Can you send that to my thingy on this one? Jazakallah khair. Bismillah. So we started last time and we went speaking about towards the end, He is alone, meaning there is not anyone who is created except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created them, and no aliking to Him in what He wants, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Laysa ka mithlihi shay. There is nothing like Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is very, very important to know. Now, often this question that comes up with many of the people, and that is, why does Allah test me? Why doesn't Allah test others? Why am I going through all this problems and situations? And this question, there is a big mistake in it, in of itself, and that is, you've likened Allah to the creation. And this is a big musibah, a big problem. When you liken Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the creation. Maybe you can say to the creation, why you don't do this for me? You have purposely not done something. But the hikmah of Allah, Allah never told us of His wisdom. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never told us of His wisdom and how He subhanahu wa ta'ala does things. How did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you rizq today? How did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you rizq today? Anyone knows the answer to this? It is from Him. Minhu subhanahu wa ta'ala, min Allahi ta'ala. But we can't say it's done like this or that. Yeah? It's done in this way. If I give you food, I will go to the shop, I will go and buy it. I'll bring it for you. I'll bring it in my hands. That's the way. Do we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us food through His hands? A'udhu billah. How does Allah give? How does Allah send His rahmah? Kayf yarhamun nas? How does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send His rahmah to people? We don't know. Why we don't know? Because Allah did not tell us. This qa'idah, this rule, we must memorize and remember always. How should not be asked. How does Allah descend? We don't know. Why don't you know? You worship Allah, yes, but He didn't tell us. He told us to worship Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the condition of worshipping Allah is not based on me having complete knowledge of His dhat, of Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, the dhat of Allah. Yeah. So we came over here. So this is the very, very important aspect. And I want to say this, someone put this question at some point saying, Allah is not responding to my dua, and because of this I would like to, this is what he said, I would like to denounce the religion of Islam. A'yadhu billah, subhanallah. So I said to him, if Allah gave, I said, if you know a child wants an ice cream, I gave this example, and it counteracted, alhamdulillah, it worked. I said, if you know he wants ice cream, kids, they love ice creams, yeah? That was a kid here, he's gone now. Anyway, they love ice creams, yes. So you say to him, I'll give you an ice cream, but, the kid says, I want an ice cream. You can give him the ice cream, right? Okay. But you know he has a cold, he has a flu. Are you going to give him the ice cream? I said to the guy, he goes, no, I would never give him the ice cream. He didn't realize what I was doing. I said, Allah knows what's best for us. We ask Allah certain things and it's not responded in the way we want it. Although the difference between you, the ice cream giver, you're still not giving it, but Allah is still responding to our du'as in a different way. That's the uniqueness of Allah. They say if you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your dua is responded. What does this response mean? Does it mean in the way you want it? Not necessarily. Yeah, it can be. So it can be the way you have asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah? So you've asked Allah ta'ala in this specific way and you got the dua. You say, Allah, I want this job. You get a call straight away. Akhi Ahmed, khalas, you've got this job. Alhamdulillah, Allah responded your dua directly as you wanted it now. Or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will respond it in a way that it won't be responded there, it will respond later on. But you want it now today. I want to get into Medina University now. You're making dua to Allah. Allah, please, I want to get into Medina University. I want to study the deen. I want to do this. I want to do this. And the letter comes through. It says, it's been declined, not accepted. But then years later, you now need to go into Medina University for a greater need now, and you got it then. And you think, subhanAllah, Allah knew what's best for me. That's the greatness of Allah. And wallahi, what I'm telling you now, this is true reality, facts. How many times you made dua for something, you didn't get it at that time, you got it at another time. You think, what? Yes, if I had it at that time, maybe I wouldn't take it seriously. Or all sorts will happen. And in fact, you can't even say maybe. It's done. You're not going to get it because it's not good for you. Done. Or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will respond to the dua. Allah will not answer that dua, but Allah will save you from a musibah. Allah, give me khair in this job. I really want it because I want to be a manager. I want to be, the director, founder, and everything, whatever it is you want to be. Okay, but if you got it, you'd be in big musibah, big problem. Allah, I want this car because I love it. You bought the car, it would have had a car crash. You would have been dead. A'udhu billah. But this is why they say always ask Allah. You want something in the dunya, don't be like, no, let me not ask Allah. No, ask Allah. Ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask Him for His names. Okay? This is the asl. This is very, very important to know. To ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly and asking Allah, Udu'uni astajib lakum directly. Not through fulan or through the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Bi wasilatihi. None of this. Ask Him directly. Udu'uni astajib lakum. Allah didn't say Udu'uni and that's it. Allah said Udu'uni astajib lakum. And responds by Allah said, I will respond for you all. Yeah. The next section that we came across then was speaking about and a judge of what he wants. Al-Hukm. Whomsoever he wants upon, he bestows upon him the fadl, the virtue. Now you see, this aspect is very important because here we are now talking about the hukm of Allah. In al-hukmu illa lillah. يَقُصُّ الْحَقِّ وَهُوَ خَيْرُ الْفَاصِلِينَ. The hukum is for Allah, the hukum, the judgment. Sharia of Allah, the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are for Allah. The laws of Allah, people talk about this today, all these debates that's going on in the world now today, people say about, the laws of the Sharia law, these are not in line with the laws of the land and kalam al-fawda like this. And we say the hukum is for Allah. Allah has given. And not only that, but even for those people who are Muslims and then they say things like, Why do we have to do such a thing like this? But are we living in a different period, different era? Shouldn't there be a different type of fatwa? Shouldn't interest be allowed so we can buy 100 homes? Yeah. And I mean them with the number explicitly 100. That's what people want to do. People want to buy 100 homes, isn't it? One home after the other. Yeah, and then buying on riba. Riba, usually we spoke about it yesterday. Haram, and it's actually such a filth that it's actually one of the worst sins among the kaba'ir, among the major sins of Islam. And among those sins that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, only sin that Allah mentions about declaring war with him. How serious the matter is, it's just outrageous. People just put they just cover. They just think it's okay, it's easy, go with the flow. Look, alhamdulillah, where we live, mashallah, there's so many opportunities, there's so many different avenues of buying or renting or whatever. There's so many different ways. We have to come and take these fatwa, the weak fatwa from so and so. Subhanallah. I get emotional when I hear these things, but the reality of the matter is there. Now, if somebody is saying that, but I've got this, I don't mean to kind of upset anyone in specific. I don't mean to be personal about it. If you've got yourself into this transaction which is not permissible, then you realize later on, scholars speak about this mas'ala as well, and they speak about getting rid of it, pay it off immediately, so on and so forth. There's these other things, so speak to the mashayikh about that. But the point I'm making is open riba. You know something riba, and you go, let me go into it. Or let me borrow money and give more in return. Anyway, we spoke about that in our fiqh class on Mondays and Tuesdays. But this is very important, inshallah. The hukum of Allah, the sharia of Allah, the laws of Allah are His. And whatever Allah is destined, 5 times a day, pray salah, fajr in the morning. Shaykh, fajr is difficult. That's you, it's difficult for you, not for everyone else. And the fajr can be the most easiest salahs, in my opinion. It's down to you. It's down to how much you feel. In fact, there are times for the believing people, they don't even need alarms because they naturally wake up at this time. They've prepared for years and years and years for Allah. Submission to Allah. So going back to that brother who said such and such regarding Allah has not responded. I've been looking for a spouse, ya Shaykh, and I want this, I want such and such. What should I do? I say, look, if the deen was like this, subhanAllah, it's very sad to know, okay, because Allah did not respond. Allah has responded. You don't know what favor Allah has put you in, what favor Allah has done for you. We just spoke about how the dua is accepted. Yeah? But if it's based on, okay, this life is not based on me or you. We're just a species. We're just one seed. We are one hab. Who am I? Who are you? When you die, what happens? You're buried. You're buried. Hear me, you're buried. Can you just understand that concept? Yeah? Subhanallah, you're buried in the grave, dust, sand. Your name shouldn't be written, but people to write their names. But you go past those graveyards, you see the names written. Who knows? Do you know who that person was? How many fulan people have passed away? Who remembers them? هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا. This ayah really strikes me, and it's the first ayah of the surah to Al-Insan. هل أتى على الإنسان has come upon the human. حين من الدهر, a time in life. So will come a time upon that person. He will no longer be remembered. SubhanAllah. So what was your value in of itself? And you're talking about Allah did not do this for me. A'udhu billah. A'udhu billah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sheltered you, given you food, clothing, given you everything in your life, answered your du'as, given you mother, father, given you Islam, given you food. I can go on forever. وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا. If you count the blessings of Allah, you can't. Can you? Can you count the blessings of Allah? Impossible. Mustahil. So subhanallah al-azim, this is very important to know the ni'am of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon all of us. Then we moved over to discuss the discussion of, so whomsoever He wants upon, He bestows upon him His fadl, His virtue, and whomsoever He wants, He misguides with His justice. This in English, subhanAllah, it's a bit of a problem, but really the simple answer is Allah has guided everyone, every single person. The ones who chose the misguidance, they're the ones who have turned away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah has misguided them, meaning Allah allowed that to take place because a person is upon free will. This is the meaning. Doesn't mean Allah misguides that person, meaning that Allah chose to misguide that individual out of a choice and where the person has no control over. Impossible. If that was the case, use your brain. If that was the case, you're trying to translate the ayah. مَن يُضْلِلِ اللَّهُ فَلَا هَادِيَ لَهُ. The one whom Allah misguides, there is no one to guide him. People are misunderstand how to translate this. If that was the case, why the messengers are coming? Why create the earth asli? If Allah has chosen, this person is going to be misguided, he's going to be misguided because I wanted that and he has no choice, but he's going to be misguided and I'm going to taste it. I'm going to make him taste the fire. This is going against Allah's sifa, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Kayf al-Jam'. How do you put the two together? Impossible. So the meaning of Allah misguided, Allah has guided him firstly, but then Allah has misguided that person because that person has chosen misguidance over guidance. أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ اشْتَرَوُا الضَّلَالَةَ بِالْهُدَى. That's clearly, the ayah is very clear. Those who purchase misguidance over guidance. What is Allah saying here? اشْتَرَوُوا الضَّلَالَةَ. Ishtaraw, the word ishtaraw regarding buying means what? I come to you, I say to you, my brother, I want to buy this, I'm giving you this out of my choice, and we are happy in this transaction. What does Allah say? Taradim minkum, yeah? The transaction can only be complete when both parties are agreed. Taradin minkum. So, same with this guidance, misguidance. The person goes and he says, I want misguidance. I've bought it. I've bought it with happiness that I want misguidance. بِأَنِّي رَاضٍ أَنِّي مِنَ الْمُضِلِّينَ. And khalas, this is clearly the meaning of when we say, so bear in mind, when we are translating these ayat, understand the words in the nitty details, yeah? This is very important. So that point is complete now. So the guidance is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And among them will be Shaqi and Sa'id. Damn, no doubt. Shaqi and Sa'id. Shaqi, the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he said, فيسبق عليه الكتاب حتى يكون بينه وبينها إلا ذراع فيسبق عليه الكتاب فيعمل بعمل أهل الجنة فيدخلها. The hadith regarding the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu. And he mentions about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned إن أحدكم يجمع خلقه في بطن أمي 40 يوم نطفة. When he says that all of you are, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, all of you are يجمع خلقه, the creation is gathered in the mother's stomach for 40 days as water or as a drop of water. After this, then it becomes what? It becomes علقة مثل ذلك, like a blood clot, like a clot. ثم يكون مضغة, then it becomes like a morsel of flesh. Yeah, and here يرسل إليه. So this is 4, 8, 12, 120 days, and this is when the ruh, the soul, is blown. The angel comes, blows the soul. This is when it's alive. 120 days. Yeah. Ajib, subhanAllah, when a woman is pregnant, she goes and gets a scan after 3 months, right? It's subhanAllah. Because before that, you can't see anything, what's going on. Ajib. Subhanallah, it's just like cells, just movements, just things. But they can just tatalasha, they can spoil and they can khalas, you know. But when it comes to this point, this is why if the miscarriage takes place, the scholars they mention, if it's morsel, if you have to bury it, dafan, kafan, subhanallah. Dafan, kafan after that period of time. If before that, then no. You with me? So this is very important to know. So some of them were 80 days and so. But anyway, the mas'ala is here that 120 days, the ruh has been, and the angel has been appointed 4 things. بِكَتْبِ رِزْقِهِ, the rizq, وَأَجَلِهِ, his lifespan, وَعَمَلِهِ, and his deeds, وَالشَّقِيٌّ أَوْ سَعِيدٌ. Would he be a shaqi, i.e. someone who will be in the fire? أَوْ Sa'id will be in Jannah. These 4 things are written. Some of the juhal, they start saying, well, if it's written, then why do we do anything? See, again, your whole concept of understanding Allah is in doubt. You've gone into the first thing, which is doubting about everything, and then you're also similarizing Allah to creation. Very simple words I'm going to give you. I'm not going to confuse you. Very simple. Allah knows the future. Yes, Allah, of course, He knows the future. Khalas. This is what Allah knows, what you are going to choose to do. You're going to choose this path, you're going to choose that path. Not because Allah has decided and that's it, khalas, you're going fire, that's it, done. And some they say if it's the fire, it's the fire. SubhanAllah. What's the sifa of Jahannam? Al-'iyadhu billahi min dhalik, la hawla quwwata illa billah. On a serious note, when I read about it in this book called Al-Mubashiruna bin Nar. Al-Mubashiruna bin Nar. There's one book by Yusuf Wabil, I think that's his name. He wrote this book called Those Who Have Been Given the News of the Fire. And here he goes, I don't mean to say this, but I'm trying to be a little bit street talk here. But anyway, he says, he goes literally mad. Not mad as in literally, but you know what I mean, in the way he describes Jahannam. That I was reading that book, I'll be honest with you, I did not finish it till today. And I read some of it, I put it back to my shelf, I haven't touched it again. And I'm not saying it because, okay, you know, you're being a bit, you know, funny, but this is all deen and you should read it, you should understand. I know it's sahih, but the way he goes into the sifa, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. He talks about the angels holding the pillars of Jahannam. There are pillars, pillars. And it's very important to read this. You know, you should read some of it, you should read parts of it, you should understand it, you should listen to the scholars what they say about it. And there are angels that are holding the zamam of Jahannam. And the Jahannam is like an animal. It's been described in the hadith, like a beast. The Jahannam is like an animal to the extent that it's so fierce that it's eating part of it. That the fire starts to eat part of the fire. Until it complained to Allah and it said, Ya Allah. It knows Allah, of course. Allah created it. And it's alive right now as we speak. It's alive. And it says to Allah, Allah, part of me is eating part of me. And this is where then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to take, Allah ta'ala allows it to take 2 breaths. 1 breath in the winter and 1 breath in the summer. So that severe heat in the summer, that we start complaining of this heat wave and the AC is not doing you any favor, that is just the breath that Jahannam took, and only a small particle of it we can say has reached us. La hawla quwwata illa billah. And likewise in the winter when it's severe, now it's cold, you can't walk like this outside. You have to wear a couple of layers now, yeah? Subhanallah. So now you see, this is the breath of Jahannam, subhanAllah. And he goes into more details about the ayat in Jahannam. Allah mentions different ayat, what type of, all these sifat, and la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah al-'ali azim. Allahumma may Allah save us, may Allah save us from the fire, Ameen. So you should make this, Allahumma ajirni min al-nar, Allahumma ajirni min al-nar, always keep reading it, many times as you can. 100 is not enough. 1,000 is not enough. As many as you can. But we ask Allah to make us among the su'ada, among the sa'id ones, among those who are in Jannah. Allahu Akbar. Don't forget, our goals are Jannah, not this dunya. The world is just, it's coming to an end anyway, subhanAllah. Muqarrib, the one whom Allah has made among the su'ada, and tarid, and the one who is misguided. This is among the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, muqarrib. And He is the one who sees the small movements of the smallest creation, known as the dabib al-dhar, in the darkness above the silent rock. فوق الصم الصخر. فوق الصم الصخر. A sakhr is a rock. Sum, quiet. For an example, whatever takes place, or that very quiet rock that falls down from the mountains, no one can hear it. You can't hear it. It's very, very, subhanAllah, like it's as though it doesn't exist. Allah Ta'ala knows everything that's happening. Like the ilm of Allah, it's not like, Allah Ta'ala doesn't know about what's really, really happening over here. A'udhu billah min dhalik. Allah knows everything. Baqin fala yafna wa la yabidu. We've done this. This is what we've done. Baqin. Baqin means he is the one who's remaining. Here we are. Muqtaridun dha tarid. And then we come to this section, today's one. وهو الذي يرى ذبيب الذر في الظلمات فوق الصم الصخر. The silent rock. وسامع الجهر والإخفات. The hearer of everything that's loud and everything that's quiet. بسمعه الواسع للأصوات. بسمعه الواسع, with his vast hearing. Wasi', we say wasi', like vast, like that, yeah? His hearing, he hears every single thing. And Allah says, وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ, He is the hearer, the seer. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ يُولِجُ اللَّيْلِ, the one who turns the night and the day, and likewise the day, the night. وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ بَصِيرٌ. أَبْصَرَ بِهِ وَأَسْمَعَ, the hearer. Like when he said to who? Musa alayhi salam and Harun, when they said, Fir'aun, إننا نخاف من ربنا إننا نخاف من ربنا لا دقيقة إننا نخاف من ربنا أن يفرط علينا أو أن يطغى. They said firstly, we are scared because Allah is ordering them to do what? What did Allah order? Tell me something. Tell me if you know the story. What did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala order Musa alayhi salatu wasalam and Harun and his brother Harun alayhi salatu wasalam? To go to Fir'aun. فَقُولَا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا, speak to him in nice words. Subhanallah. In our da'wah, we become crazy, innit? If you speak to people in nice words, فَقُولَا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا, speak to him, say a statement which is layyin. Layyin, nice, calm. لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرْ أَوْ يَخْشَى, hopingly he will remember or fear. They said, we are scared, we can't do this. In other words. Then Allah said, إِنَّنِي مَعَكُمَا أَسْمَعُ وَأَرَى, verily me, I'm with you both, I hear and I see. And this is the dalil, hearing and seeing, with meaning not himself subhanahu wa ta'ala, but with the hearing and the seeing. Some of the people, they say, no, but Allah is everywhere. A'udhu billah. So how are you going to understand this ayah then? I see and I hear. At the same time I'm down, but at the same time I see and hear. Doesn't make sense. I'm with you. I'm with you in hearing and I'm with you in seeing. I see everything what you're doing. I'm with you, don't worry. Huh? And then at the same time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, يَنزِلُ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ الدُّنْيَا, He is coming down in the sama of the dunya and then He's with you. هذه مشكلة. So Allah is as He has described Himself. ظاهرا, as we mentioned, and as mentioned in the Quran. خلاص. Keep it simple. Don't bring this. كلا فاذهبا بآياتنا إنا معكم مستمعون. Look at this. I'm with you all. Verily we are with you. مستمعين, hearing. Not with you alone. Alone with you. We are with you. Like, with you, hearing. Through the sifat of Allah. Through the characteristics of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. نعم هنا الآن. وعلمه بما بدا وما خفي أحاط علما بالجلي والخفي. Beautiful. Should I put that into English? Can you read that in a rhythm poetry in English? Big problem. And His knowledge with whatever is open. Bada means something that's yabdu, qad bada, يعني حصل, has taken place, it's there, it's apparent. Allah has knowledge of it completely. وما خفي, and whatever is hidden. أحاط علما بالجلي والخفي, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ilm, أحاط والله محيط, is like all around, like a circle. وهو الغني بذاته سبحانه, and He is with Himself subhanahu wa ta'ala al-Ghani, the rich. This is the name of Allah, His name. جل ثناؤه تعالى شأنه وكل شيء رزقه عليه وكل شيء رزقه عليه وكلنا مفتقر إليه. فالله سبحانه وتعالى جل ثناؤه, His praise is for Him subhanahu wa ta'ala and His affair. And everything, everyone's rizq is based upon what Allah wants to give us. Yani Allah, we are poor. We are in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the ayats are so many. كلم موسى عبده تكليما ولم يزل بخلقه عليما. He spoke to Musa alayhi salam, his servant, takliman, and He spoke to him, kalam. This is another one that some of the people, they have disagreed. They start to make the ta'wil of the kalam of Allah. Rather, we say the kalam of Allah is His characteristics. And indeed, Allah spoke. The Quran was read by Allah. The words were, okay, let me make this very clear. The words of Allah are His characteristics. They are not a creation. So Allah spoke. Jibreel alayhi salam memorized it. He came down to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he read it to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what did he do? He read it to the Sahaba. The Sahaba then recited it to the others. The writing in the Mus'haf came way later on. Bear this in mind. When the fitna took place and they are trying to preserve the Quran, because many of those who know the Quran by heart are being tortured and so on and so forth. So this was the order of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anh, through the advice of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anh. At the time of Zayd ibn Thabit radiallahu anh, and they collected the Quran and they compiled. We call it the history of the compilation of the Quran. Read about it. The history of the compilation of Quran. Then Uthman ibn Affan and the Uthmani script, they call it today, Uthmani script. From the time of Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anh, compiling it into the Masahif and the Mushafs came later on, and then it became a tradition of the people to do this. But this is till today in Taraweeh, mashallah, we recite the Quran by memory. But this sunnah is azima, this sunnah is a great sunnah. To recite the Quran by heart. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. Musa alayhi salam heard the kalam of Allah. To say the kalam of Allah is makhluk, hadha kufr. This is disbelief. To say the kalam of Allah is kufr, is disbelief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because you're saying the sifa of Allah is a creation. A'udhu billah min dhalik. And this is very serious kufr, very serious disbelief. We shouldn't ever think like this. This was the big fitna, time of Imam al-Bukhari, Imam al-Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, rahimahullah al-Jami'. Read about regarding the khalq of al-Quran and the fitan and the people who came with these aqwal. فواضح, he's mentioning it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. من كلم الله ورفع بعضهم درجات. The kalam Allah, so many dalil. This book, it talks to all the proofs over here on this page regarding the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So many, I don't need to go into all of them, but you know, it is very, very clear. We'll stop on the next point now, inshallah ta'ala. كلامه جل عن الإحصاء والحصر والنفاد والفناء لو صار أقلاما جميع الشجر والبحر تلقى فيه 7 أبحر والخلق تكتبه بكل آن فنت وليس القول منه فاني. Allah, MashaAllah. This point over here is mentioned. The kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free from limitation. If the pens were all as the trees in the world, and we spoke about this, and the seas, this is talking about an ayah of the Quran. What's the ayah of the Quran? Remember this ayah? If the pens, say a circle, you got all the trees around this, and in between you have the sea. Yeah? You have the sea. The pens are the trees. The sea is the ink. Yeah? And then you multiply this sea to 7 more seas. It will not diminish the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the fawaid in the Quran, the kalam of Allah, is more, what is it? Kalimatullahi hiya al-ulya. The words of Allah upon the highest rank. So this is again an aspect of subhanAllah, an ayah of the Quran over here. And also when Allah Ta'ala says, قُلْ لَوْ كَانَ الْبَحْرُ مِدَادًا لِكَلِمَاتِ رَبِّي لَنَفِدَ الْبَحْرُ قَبْلَ أَن تَنْفَدَ كَلِمَاتُ رَبِّي وَلَوْ جِئْنَا بِمِثْلِهِ مَدَدًا. You know this ayah as well. If the bahr midada li kalimati rabbi lanafid al-bahr qabla an tanfad, yani was to be in comparison, then the bihar, the seas would diminish, would be, Allahu Akbar, yani, would become drought, but the kalam of Allah will not. For kalam Allah huwa al-asl, akhi. Kalam of Allah, the kalam of Allah is too much. And this is the ayah that we mentioned earlier as well. وَلَوْ أَنَّ مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ مِنْ شَجَرَةٍ أَقْلَامٍ. You know, subhanallah al-azim. From these trees and these. وَالْقَوْلُ فِي كِتَابِهِ الْمُفَصَّلِ بِأَنَّهُ كَلَامُهُ الْمُنَزَّلِ على الرسول المصطفى خير الورى ليس بمخلوق ولا بمفترى. This over here is just approving our statement, which is the statement regarding the book of Allah. It is His kalam, His speech that is being revealed upon the Rasul Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the best of creation, خير الورى. ليس بمخلوق, ay the kalam of Allah, the speech of Allah is not a creation. And there is no lie to this. There is no lie. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us tawfiq wal ikhlas with sincerity. Inshallah, bear in mind, we stopped on the kalam of Allah. So just in case we forget, and next week, inshallah, we will touch upon the next aspect of, subhanAllah, he wants to explain in way detail. And he's going to talk about the khilaf, the ikhtilaf between the ulama in this kalam. MashaAllah. We will summarize this next week, inshallah, as well. We'll summarize some of this. And then we're going to mention about the Quran and the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more in detail, and its sifat. And how it should be recited, and so on and so forth. Wallahu a'lam, jazakumullahu khairah.